Okay, now this is the demo time. Before we go ahead with the demo, let us just brush up on the basic of the OCVS. So, VMware and Oracle have jointly developed a fully certified and supported software-defined data center known as Oracle Cloud VMware Service, or called OCVS. So it's a fully secure, VMware SDDC comprises with Oracle, cloud infrastructure resources and VMware software licenses. So the basic configuration of OCVS includes 3 OCI bare metal compute host, which is 3 bare metal 2.52 instances to achieve high availability, along with other OCI products such as your OCI VCN. So it's really highly scalable. It starts with a 3 host and scales up to 64 host in a single OCVS cluster. Okay, so this base OCVS configuration comes with 156 OCPU, 2304 GB of physical memory, and 153 terabyte of NVMe based raw storage. And it includes the VMware software such as vSphere, vSAN, NSXT, and vCenter Server. All right. So let's go ahead and jump on creating the OCVS cluster. So you're going to click on in here, scroll down, and you'll be able to see something called VMware solution in here. Now let's click on this solution, and now you can see that no items found because we have not created anything. Choose your compartment where you want to create this SDDC cluster, and now click on create SDDC. Okay, I'm going to give it a name called, let's say, OCI SDDC compartment as FRS01, and I'm selecting VMware software solution as 6.7 update 3. So there are 2 options that you're going to get: 6.5 update 3 and 6.7 update 3. So I'm going to select 6.7 update 3. The number of ESXi host, as I said, beginning with number 3. So this is the minimum required number of hosts. So this is something that I'm going to select it right now. The ESXi host name prefix is going to take the first name of your cluster that you have created. So it's called OCI-SDDC, and using that, you can hyphen 01, 02, and 03. This is something like your ESXi host name is going to be. Okay, you can choose a SSH key file to log into your box and do something out there. So I'm going to select this. Okay, so I've selected this SSH key file, and the availability domain is 81. So you need to be very mindful about which availability domain you are going to choose, because right now the OCVS is only dependent on one single AD. So you can only deploy the SDDC stack on one single AD, not across the ADs. So you need to make sure that you have limits for your bare metal dense IO hosts on a particular AD, and select that AD wherever you have limits on. And that's about it. And then let's look at the options, and here you can choose a tag namespace and things like that. I'm not going to be bothered about it. Next, click on next. Now this is a very vital part, which is the network. So this workflow creates the ESXi host in a VCN subnet of your choice, and 7 VLANs are required to run different VMware components in SDDC. So think about your vSphere, your vSAN, your vMotion, your NSX, your Edge component, and things like that. So we will do that. We will choose an on-prem CIDR. So this is my VCN. You can see that 172.16.0.0/16. That's my VCN. Now I can either click on create new subnet and VLANs, or I can select existing subnets and VLAN. So if you have created your VLANs already and your subnets already in your VCN, then you're good to go with selecting this existing subnets and VLAN. You can do that, absolutely not a problem. And I can show you what exactly does it mean. So if I click on it here, and from here you can choose the compartment where your provisioning subnet is going to be, and then your subnet name you can also choose from here, right? So you can do that. And then if you scroll down, you can see that NSX Edge uplink 1, uplink 2, and you can select the VLANs. You can see that those VLANs has already been created. But what I'm going to do is I will select create a new VLAN and create a new subnet for all of this and let it populate for us rather than we do it ourselves, right? And then we can talk about later on how do you create these subnets before you start creating this SDDC cluster and things like that, right? So first thing first, the provisioning subnet. So let's look at what does it mean. So I'm going to select create new subnet and VLAN. Okay, so we need to give /22 out of 172.16.0.0/16. So we need to cut the subnet as a /22. And what I can do is you can use this kind of IP calculator or subnetting, where I provided that 172.16.0.0/16, and I need to cut /22. So you can see that it will tell you you can use 0.0/22. The next block is 4.0/22, 8.0, 12.0, 16.0, so on and so forth, right? So I'm going to pick the next one, which is 170.16.4.0/22, and then I'm going to provide this one 422, and then click on check availability. So this CIDR block is available. Now let's click on in here and see what happens. So basically this /22 is going to be divided into a couple of VLANs and one more subnet in /25. So let's talk about first thing first, which is the provisioning subnet. So the provisioning subnet is the main purpose of it is your ESXi management interface which going to be connected on this provisioning subnet. Okay, so we are going to use this to provision your ESXi host and your VMK interfaces there, right? The next one is NSX Edge uplink 1 and uplink 2. So this VLAN is used for communications between the VMware SDDC and the OCI. That's the first one. The second one is used for future use to deploy public facing application on the VMware SDDC. So this is something that we are going to talk about when we talk about how we can expose an application which is deployed on top of a Kubernetes engine, deployed on top of a VM on vSphere, and how we can expose that. So we can use this uplink later on, right? And this is a VLAN gateway CIDR, and you can see the IP has been already been curved. Okay. Now the VTEP. So this VLAN is used for the data plane traffic between your ESXi host. Then the NSX VTEP, and the first thing is the NSX Edge VTEP. So the NSX Edge VTEP is used for data plane traffic between the ESXi host and the NSX Edge. And then the NSX VTEP, which is the VLAN for your data plane traffic between the ESXi host. Then your vMotion traffic. So this VLAN is used for the vMotion of the management and the customer workload components. The vSAN components. So the vSAN components is used for the vSAN data traffic. The vSphere VLAN is used for the management of your vSphere components, such as your vCenter, your NSX T and NSX Edge, and things like that. So that's about it. So we are going to click on next. So this is going to be created for us, and there are a couple of more things which will be provisioned by default by our provisioning engine, which is like your subnets, your security list, your network security groups, your route table as well, and the security list rules as well. Okay, so we're going to see that. Let's click on next. And now you can click on edit basic information, so you can basically change these parameters, which is here, or you can click on let's say you want to edit this SDDC network, you can do that as well. And here you can see the kind of security list rules which will be created, and what are the kind of rules which will be created, the route table which will be created, and things like that. So you can see that the first thing first, the NSX for NSG for NSX Edge uplink VLANs to the OCI SDDC. Here you can see that it's allow all traffic, allow all SSH, allow ICMP traffic, and allow ICMP traffic node, and various other rules that you can see in here. So you can see for all of those VLANs, what are the kind of different NSGs are going to be created, the rules between them, and things like that. Okay, so let's click on create SDDC. So you can see that these are going to be created for us. So create route tables, and it's going to take us to a new screen. So this is going to take up to 2.5 hours. Now these 3 instances are going to be created. 3 instances are going to be provisioned with the VMware ESXi 6.7 update 3. And then vCenter will be provisioned, then the NSXT will be provisioned. All those configuration will be done. Everything will be done for you by your provisioning engine. And once everything is done, we will show you the URL in here, and then you can use that URL from a jump host, a Windows jump host, and then you can use those URL to start managing your SDDC infrastructure in here. Okay, so let's look at what are the things are what are the things that we can get in here. So NSX Edge IP address, vSphere client, this is going to be populated very soon. vSphere client IP address, NSX Manager, NSX Manager IP address, the tags, the OSIT for that. You can see these ESXi hosts are going to be created. So look at that, the name OCI-SDDC-1-2-3. So 3 nodes are getting created right now. And you can see the provisioning subnet that has been created, the route table, the security list associated. So everything has been created, and you can see a nice summary in the screen. Okay, so you can see there are 7 different VLANs has been all created. Right, so we can click on OCI SDDC and come back to the screen. We can click on close, and then we can click on in here, and you can see that this is the main page where you will be able to see how exactly you should be able to access the vCenter. So you can see that vCenter initial username and password is here. The NSX Manager username password is here. We are going to get these one populated once the infrastructure is up and running, and then you can choose either IP address or the fully qualified domain name. Either one work, not a problem, and then we can start configuring that. Okay, so you see that SDDC network. So here there are 7 different VLANs. So Edge uplink 1, 2, Edge VDEP, NSX VDEP, vMotion, vSAN, and vSphere. Okay, subnets is just one, which is the provisioning subnet. So this is where we are going to hook up our engine to start provisioning the whole infrastructure for you. Okay, you can see that work request, which is in progress, only 15%. And as I mentioned, that it's going to take very long time because a lot of things are happening in the background, and everything will be done by us for you. And then you can just start managing your infrastructure from there. All right, so here once it is done, you can see that we have given you 2 more parameters in here. One is called configure connectivity to your on-premises network. So you can create kind of an on-premises network to vSphere network. You can do that, or configure connectivity to Oracle Services network as well. So this is something that I'm going to cover up in next couple of videos, where we'll show you how exactly you can use the Oracle services from an application which is hosted on top of vSphere. Okay, so we'll show you how exactly does the netting work, and how we can expose this outside to the public using the NSX uplink, second uplink that we have just discussed, and things like that. Okay, so looks like our SDDC cluster has been created. And as you can see that the vCenter information, the vSphere client FQDN and the vSphere client IP address has been given in here, the username and password, and for the NSX Manager as well, the your FQDN, your IP address, and the initial username and password. So if you can just scroll down, you'll see the ESXi host, and these are all in active status. Clicking on the SDDC network will tell you the 7 different VLANs and the subnet. So this has been done now. And you can see that there are two different options as you can connect. So number one is configure connectivity to your on-premises network, and the second is configure the connectivity to Oracle Services Network. I'm going to talk about it in our next video. And these are very crucial one. How exactly you can create the network and then attach that to have a connectivity either from your on-premises or to your Oracle Services Network. Okay, so what we need to do to access this vSphere client and the NSX Manager client is that you need to create a jump host in here. So we need to jump back to the compute instances section, and then you see that these are the host or the ESXi instances which are already up and running, and these are the shape dense IO 2.52. We'll be using this existing jump host to log in and start configuring the SDDC cluster. So I'm going to open up the remote desktop, as you can see it here, and I'm just going to log in, click on connect. Okay, so looks like you can see that I have logged into this Windows jump host, and from here I can actually log into my vCenter client and my NSX client as well, right? I'm just going to give it a brief walkthrough of how. So I'm going to switch back to this mode, go back to my vSphere solutions, and from here I can pick up the IP, and when I go back in here I can click on it here, and I can click on paste, advanced, save, launch vSphere client HTML5, and at the same time I'm going to copy this NSX Manager, click on next, proceed, login, and I'll see for this one as well. All right, okay, so vSphere client, so I'm going to pick up the initial username and the password. So I'm going to click on copy, paste, login. All right, so we are logged into this OCI SDDC cluster. So you can see these, there are three different hosts, and there are two different pools, the management pool and the workload pool. So this is where we will be deploying our workload, and this management pool is hosting the NSX Manager, the vCenter, NSX Edge machines, and things like that, right? All right, so let's log into the NSX Manager. So I will just copy this password and then Control V, click on login, and this end user license agreement, continue, understand, and save, and that's it. So yeah, so you can look at that, like we have a tier 0 gateway, one tier 1 gateway, and one segment, and one gateway policies and things like that. So yeah, so you can see that there are 6 virtual machines, 4 9 services, 3 NSX management node, transport node, 2 edge transport nodes, and 3 transport zones. Okay. So from here, you're gonna further go ahead and you create your workload, you deploy whatever you want. You can log into your ESXi node using SSH key, and then you can do any amount of administrative operations that you want, and can go ahead, right? All right, so that's about it for today. In next video, I'm going to talk about how you deploy a Kubernetes cluster on OCI SDDC, and then on top of that, deploy API, and then use that API to expose the application to the outside world, and how exactly you can do that, right? Thanks for watching.